So this guy almost replaced Joseph Smith as the prophet of the Mormon Church. In 1844, after the death of Joseph Smith, James Strang claimed that he had a letter from Joseph Smith that named him as his successor. He also claimed that he had been visited by an angel who ordained him into the office. Now, despite the fact that James was a relatively new convert to the church and never held any position of real authority, he actually gained a pretty significant following. And one of the reasons for this is the fact that he claimed to have found and translated two different ancient records. The first of which is known as the Vori plates, or the Vori records, which were found on the Hill of Promise after James was led there by a vision. Now, Strang claimed that the Vori record contained the final testament of an ancient American ruler named Raja Manchu of Verito. This translation really solidified that he was a prophet of God to the eyes of his followers. But I think most significant is his claim to have uncovered the brass plates, which are talked about in the Book of Mormon. 7 different witnesses testified to having seen and handled the brass plates. They claimed that they were embellished with beautiful pictures and appeared to be of a beautiful, unique workmanship, with engravings that resembled an ancient Oriental language. Now, none of these witnesses ever denied their testimonies of seeing and physically handling the brass plates, despite the fact that some of them eventually went on to leave the church. His translation was published entitled The Book of the Law of the Lord. At its peak, when he was governing the church on Beaver Island in Michigan, he had about 12,000 followers, which directly rivaled the 50,000 followers that Brigham Young would have had during the same time. However, his church very quickly fell apart because he established himself as king and ruled with a very dictator type of leadership. He also, despite the fact that he was opposed to polygamy for most of his leadership, decided to reinstitute the practice in 1849, which of course did not sit right with many of his members who eventually left. Most of the people who left went on to form the reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which was led by Joseph Smith III. And in 1856, Strang was assassinated by 2 of his former members. Now, it is interesting to note that his church actually does still exist. It only has about 130 members, which makes it one of the smallest branches of Mormonism that still exists today.